A CRTC summary of the Craig Glassman Tapes interview with the Queens District Attorney's Office. Key Event Summary. In the summer of 1977, Craig Glassman was working day shifts as a trainee nurse at Montefiore Hospital, Spofford, and was also a part-time volunteer deputy with the Westchester County Sheriff's Department. He lived on Pine Street in Yonkers, directly below David Berkowitz, and could see the car house from his apartment. Due to the harassment and at the instruction of the sheriff, Glassman had been monitoring Berkowitz's movements, checking his car and apartment daily. On the evening of Berkowitz's arrest, Glassman came up from his building's basement laundry room around 8 p.m. to check on Berkowitz's vehicle. As he reached the front door of the building, he was surrounded by approximately 10 plainclothes New York City police officers. The officers directly asked him, "Are you David Berkowitz?" Glassman identified himself as Craig Glassman and provided his badge and ID. Shortly thereafter, at approximately 8:40 p.m., a team of local and NYC officers, including Glassman, Sergeant Gardella, and Detective Filatico, staked out Berkowitz's car from an unmarked Buick. At approximately 9:15 p.m., a man emerged from the building, but Glassman noted it was not Berkowitz, but rather a kid who had been in the building with a girl. Glassman then discovered mid-conversation that the accompanying officers were from New York City and realized they were there to arrest the son of Sam. At approximately 9:45 p.m., Berkowitz came out of the building carrying a brown bag in his left hand, crossed the street, and entered his car. Glassman identified him to the officers, drew his gun, ran to the vehicle, and held it to Berkowitz's head. Glassman was the only officer present who displayed his shield. After a brief standoff, Berkowitz was frisked, handcuffed, and transported to the Yonkers Police Department. Later, law enforcement obtained warrants and searched Berkowitz's vehicle and apartment. Inside the vehicle, they discovered a ski mask, a semi-automatic weapon, additional pistols, ammunition, and a .44 caliber gun. In his apartment, investigators found his diary, notes written on the walls, and a specific pencil-written note near the front door reading, "God save us," from Craig Glassman. Remember, guys, these are my notes, but these are Craig Glassman's words based on his interview. Logistics, interview background, date and time, June 13th, 1979 at 3:20 p.m. Location, Queens District Attorney's Office. Interviewer, Assistant District Attorney Herbert Leifer, accompanied by Michael Armiente. Interviewee, Craig Glassman, who stated he was born May 11, 1948. Address, 42 Pine Street, Apartment 6E, Yonkers, New York. Purpose, to detail Glassman's interactions, relationship, and experiences with his former neighbor, David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. Initial move-in and neighborhood context. Move-in date, March 15, 1977. Glassman moved into apartment 6E at then 35 Pine Street following a marital separation. Living situation. Glassman lived directly below David Berkowitz, who occupied apartment 7E. The two apartments were connected externally by a fire escape and overlooked the Hudson River. Background. Glassman was a nursing student at the time and a volunteer deputy with the Emergency Force Division of the Westchester County Sheriff's Department. he kept to himself and initially had no direct contact with Berkowitz or other neighbors. Vehicles. Glassman owned a gold 1972 Pontiac Le Mans and paid for an indoor garage space in the building. He later learned from Yonkers PD that Berkowitz typically parked on the street or in an outdoor lot. Phone number. Glassman's new phone number was not listed in the standard directory. His old address was, but it was accessible via directory assistance or information. Only a few colleagues and a select individuals knew his exact location as he had separated from his wife. The first threatening phone call. The television incident, May 1977. Roughly 2 months after moving in, Glassman was playing his television late at night. At approximately 1 a.m., he received a phone call from a white male who bluntly ordered, "Shut that fucking television off." Retrospective connection. In hindsight, and after later hearing Berkowitz's voice following his arrest, Glassman determined the caller could have only been Berkowitz. The surrounding neighbors on the floor were black or Puerto Rican, whereas the voice on the phone was explicitly white and matched Berkowitz's tone. The Threatening Letters Campaign. Following internal promotions within the sheriff's department, Glassman experienced professional jealousy from some colleagues, which initially led him to believe the threats were coming from inside his own department. Letter 1, June 7, 1977. Glassman received an anonymous letter threatening his life, stating, "We will murder you. We will kill you." He notified Under Sheriff Jack O'Brien, who advised him to keep it quiet to see if the culprit would expose themselves. The sheriff's department sprayed the letter for fingerprints before photographing it, causing the ink to run and ruining the quality. No usable prints were found. Letter 2, July 14, 1977. A second letter arrived. This letter addressed Glassman as Sergeant Glassman. He was actually a corporal at the time, and contained internal terminology like captain and general, strengthening the theory that an internal adversary was responsible. The department began collecting handwriting samples from personnel matching 3 closely. The Arson Incident, August 6, 1977. The fire. Glassman graduated from nursing school on Friday, August 5th. His father flew up from Miami to celebrate and stayed over. At roughly 7:30 a.m. the next morning, Glassman was awakened by a cracking and popping noise and saw fire flickering around his doorframe. Rescue. Neighbors outside yelled for them to stay inside and managed to douse the flames from the hallway. The fire was explicitly contained to the exterior of Glassman's front door. Evidence. Arson investigator Lieutenant Starkey found that a flammable liquid had been poured over a pile of garbage, cardboard, and bags. Crucially, .22 caliber bullets had been placed into the fire. The investigation and connecting Berkowitz. Officer Chamberlain's discovery. Yonkers Police Officer Chamberlain responded to the arson scene and privately asked Glassman if he had received prior threats. Glassman revealed the letters. Upon seeing the second letter, Chamberlain immediately recognized the name Carr mentioned inside. The suspect identified. Chamberlain told Glassman that the police strongly suspected the man living directly above him, David Berkowitz, was the son of Sam. Chamberlain explained that Sam Carr lived down the hill, his daughter was a Yonkers PD dispatcher, and the letters heavily mirrored details of the ongoing serial killer investigation. Police coordination. Yonkers PD and the Sheriff's Department finally pulled their info. Glassman had previously been ordered by his undersheriff not to involve Yonkers PD due to the internal department theory. Police checked Berkowitz's apartment and neighborhood that day, but he and his car were gone, and his fire escape window was blocked by a blanket. Glassman searched his own car and the building roof for hidden weapons, but found nothing. The final letters and arrest. Relocation. Following advice from investigators, Glassman decided to temporarily vacate the apartment for his safety. He went to his uncle's house on 96th Street in Manhattan for dinner on Saturday night, August 6th. Letters 3 and 4, August 6, 1977. Glassman returned to his Pine Street apartment around 9 p.m. to grab his service revolver and items to move into his estranged wife's place. While there, he heard Berkowitz walking around upstairs. Before leaving, he checked his mailbox and discovered 2 final letters postmarked August 4th. The confession. Glassman held the unopened letters up to the light. Through the envelope paper, he clearly read the sentences, "I know, Master, that I am doomed, but do not think that I will not tell the authorities about you. True, I am the killer, but Craig, the killings are at your command." Conclusion. From that moment on, Glassman knew definitively that his upstairs neighbor was the son of Sam. When he brought the letters to investigators on Monday, they initially brushed it off, claiming they had vetted Berkowitz and determined he's not the guy. However, handwriting analysts from New York City later verified that all the letters Glassman received were written by David Berkowitz. Some miscellaneous dates for Glassman. 1952, Glassman's family moved out of New York City to Ardsley, New York. 1966 to 1971, Glassman attended the University of Miami, graduating with a Bachelor of Science. He does mention that he traveled back and did a semester or so in Boston and somewhere else, but ultimately he graduated from the University of Miami. 1975, Glassman entered nursing school and joined the Sheriff's Department. August 8, 1977, Glassman started working for Montefiore Hospital at Spofford. August 10, 1977 was the night of arrest. Glassman stated that he saw Berkowitz that morning. September 22, 1977, Berkowitz sent Glassman an apologetic letter from Kings County Hospital for trying to kill him. October 19, 1978, Craig Glassman's divorce was finalized. Significant statements and quotes. During the arrest standoff, Craig Glassman, holding a gun to Berkowitz's head, "Freeze, police." David Berkowitz, upon being apprehended, "Okay, you got me. How come it took you so long?" During the drive to Yonkers PD, David Berkowitz, unsolicited to the officers in the car, "How did you know I was the son of Sam?" Craig Glassman to Berkowitz at Yonkers PD, "You know who I am, don't you?" David Berkowitz responding to Glassman, "Yes, you're Craig Glassman." Explanations on the neighborhood noise. When asked if he, Glassman, ever heard the neighborhood dogs barking, specifically Harvey, the shooter's psychological trigger, Glassman mentioned, "Around here, you can hear a lot of dogs barking, still hear dogs barking there." He noted it never bothered him because he used air conditioning and kept his windows shut during the summer. Investigation complications and discrepancies. The shield and warrants. Glassman stated he was the only officer who pulled out his shield during the initial arrest. Furthermore, New York City officers initially tried to remove Berkowitz from Yonkers PD immediately to book him in Brooklyn for the murders, a move that would have cut the local Yonkers Westchester departments out of the arrest credit. The undersheriff of Westchester County intervened, produced the local weapons charge arrest report, and stopped them. The first words, discrepancy. Glassman strongly corrected rumors or book drafts mentioning author Klausner, claiming that Glassman had approached the police saying, "I'm not David Berkowitz." Glassman clarified that the police surrounded him and spoke first, asking him if he was Berkowitz. The Carr family. Glassman emphasized that despite living in the area and being heavily involved in the case, he had never met or officially spoken to any members of the Carr family. The arrest and car search. The arresting officers. The vehicle contained Detective Filatico in the front passenger seat, Detective Sergeant Gardella in the rear passenger seat, and Craig Glassman, who entered on the rear driver's side. The encounter. When Berkowitz came out of the building, Glassman identified him, exited the vehicle with his gun drawn, and placed it to Berkowitz's head, saying, "Freeze, police." Glassman was the only officer to display his police shield at that time. Berkowitz's reaction. Upon being apprehended, Berkowitz looked at Glassman and asked, "Now that you got me, how come it took you so long?" The search. After Filatico and Gardella frisked and handcuffed Berkowitz, a subsequent search of his vehicle revealed a ski mask, a semi-automatic weapon, other pistols, ammunition, and a .44 caliber Smith & Wesson Special. The transport and interrogation. Transport to Yonkers PD. Filatico drove the vehicle. Glassman sat in the front passenger seat, and Officer Charlie Higgins sat in the back with Berkowitz. Officer John Longo and Higgins had previously been stationed on the roof. Reading of rights. Higgins read Berkowitz his Miranda rights from the back seat. This was after Glassman claimed that he reminded him to. The caliber confirmation. Higgins handed a plastic bag containing bullets to Glassman because Higgins did not have his reading glasses on. Glassman confirmed they were .44 caliber Smith & Wesson Specials. The admission. As they pulled into the Yonkers Police Department, Berkowitz voluntarily asked, "How did you know I was the son of Sam?" At the police station, Chief Detective Keenan and Brooklyn District Attorney personnel were present. Berkowitz was taken aside by Dowd to speak near the garages. The dispute over arrest credit. Booking conflict. The New York City Police intended to book Berkowitz in Brooklyn for the Son of Sam murders, which would effectively cut out the Yonkers officers from the primary arrest credit. The undersheriff's intervention. Glassman contacted his department chief, who notified the undersheriff. The undersheriff arrived at Yonkers PD, stopped the NYPD from transporting Berkowitz, and forced them to present the arrest report. The weapons charge. The undersheriff demonstrated that the initial booking sheet listed Filatico, Gardella, and Glassman for the local weapons charge in Yonkers. Other notes and personal details. The letters. Berkowitz obtained Glassman's name either off of his door or from the mailboxes downstairs. He later sent a letter to Glassman from Kings County Hospital, dated September 22nd. The Carr family. Glassman had stated he never personally met Sam Carr, Wheat Carr, or any other members of the Carr family. He noted that Wheat Carr left her job as a dispatcher at Yonkers PD after the incident and turned down a position on the police force. Glassman's early life. Glassman was raised in the Bronx, where his father was the administrator of the Bronx VA hospital. He lived on University Avenue and Reservoir Avenue and attended PS 86. His grandparents lived on Valentine Avenue. His family moved out of the city to Ardsley, New York in 1952. Again, he attended the University of Miami and graduated with a Bachelor's of Science. Career pivot. He initially worked in radio in Burlington, Vermont and Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. He later returned to Ardsley to work in his brother-in-law's garage before entering nursing school in 1975, the same year he joined the Sheriff's Department. He did his nurse training at St. John's Hospital in Yonkers. Some closing names and clarifications. Stephen Trackman. When asked by the interviewer if he had ever crossed paths with Stephen Trackman while at the University of Miami, Glassman stated the name did not sound familiar. It did appear that he was being shown a photo of Trackman. Yonkers personnel. Glassman was asked about Patrick O'Shaughnessy. Glassman mentioned he did not know most of Yonkers officers. The only Yonkers cop he personally knew prior was Frank Nappy, who worked out of South Command. Glassman was asked about the mailman for the building. He stated that he believed it was now a different mailman because delivery times have changed. He was also asked if he knew Joaquim Neto and Joaquim Goncalvo. He responded negative to both. This summary is a compilation of my notes that I made after listening to the Craig Glassman tapes. Some of the information provided by Glassman is factually incorrect and obviously embellished by him. I highly recommend that you listen to the interview tapes for yourself. Thank you for listening, and I hope to continue this conversation on a live stream.